Welcome back again to another episode of Implementation Science 101. Today we're going to be talking about implementation strategies. So this is an often mystifying concept in implementation, especially for people just entering the field. I want to give you some really practical advice on how to think about implementation strategies. So we're gonna go back to this. I hope that this is, again, boring for you, that you've seen this so many times, but I really want to make this point clear, and I want the structure, I want you to really understand it. So we talk about having the thing, right? Our thing is the thing we're putting into practice. It could be a policy, a procedure, a treatment, etc. Implementation research, we're trying to help people and places do the thing. So what we often do is we develop implementation strategies to help people do the thing. And that's the stuff we do to help people do the thing, or places, people or places. And we evaluate the extent to which those strategies impact outcomes, which I have talked about now in 2 different videos. But our outcomes are things like, how do people feel about your thing? How do people use the thing? Do they use it well? Are they adopting it, etc.? So so strategies are something that I think feel really scary to people, because it's kind of hard to know what strategies are. And it feels like maybe they should be these complicated things that you don't already do. But in fact, many people doing any kind of research or any kind of really organizational change at all are doing implementation strategies. So an example of an implementation strategy is training. The way you train probably impacts the way people use the thing, right? But training is itself a strategy. Other things that are strategies include things like facilitating implementation, thinking about incentive structures and payment models, if you're thinking about like healthcare, or even things like changing the experience of a health record system. So like changing where certain things are in your health record system. That can be an implementation strategy. So all those things are strategies, right? This is not anything new, and many people are using implementation strategies already. The difference in what a lot of people are doing and implementation science is that it's really important to test the effects of those strategies. So implementation science is really focused on testing the effect of implementation strategies on implementation outcomes. I've said that twice because I think it's really important. So what we're really trying to test in implementation science is, did the strategy, like training, like changing the health record system, help people use or do your thing more or better? Another thing we might think about is, did it lead to more positive perceptions of the thing? So when you did the training, did people start to actually like the thing more and start talking about the thing more, etc.? Okay, so one of the core principles of implementation science is really testing the effects of those strategies. I talked a little bit about study designs at one point, but in a lot of implementation science, what we're doing is even testing head-to-head different implementation strategies to make sure that we are truly understanding what works to help people do the thing. What is the stuff we have to do that's non-negotiable to help people do the thing? I want to put a plug in here, is that if you are going to design implementation strategies to be tested, it's really, really important that you specify them. There are some criteria for specifying that are really thorough and comprehensive. I really like to think of a specification as defining the who, what, why, where, when, and how of the implementation strategy. One of the most important things and one of the most challenging things to do is to build accountability for that strategy. Who's going to do it? When's it going to happen? And build that into the system that exists already, which is another thing that implementation science tries to do. Is we're trying to not do these things as researchers and then get out of there. We're trying to help people develop strategies that are feasible, that they can do, so that when we leave, it's already built into the system. That's the core of that principle of sustainability, of sustaining what we're doing. All right, so in terms of the who, what, where, when, and how, one way to think about it is who is involved with making the strategy happen and receiving the strategy. So that's an important thing, is that The who kind of incorporates both of those. The what is, what does the strategy entail? Training is not sufficient detail to understand what you're doing for the training. Is it a 2-hour training with experiential components? So people are actually doing role plays and modeling. They're getting their hands dirty and learning how to do the thing. Is it a full day training? Like really specifying the components of your strategy. When will the strategy happen and how frequently? So is it going to be a one-time training or are you going to do a booster session? Where is it going to happen? Pretty simple. Why do you think the strategy is a good idea? This is one thing that I think is really important, is that we need to ensure that we have compelling rationale for why we're doing what we're doing. That's actually going to be the topic of implementation mechanisms, which is going to be the next episode or the one after. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about that rationale and what I mean by saying we should have compelling rationale for why we believe a strategy will work to impact an outcome. And then finally, how will the strategy get done? So all of these are important in building that accountability that ensures that we can implement sustainably over time. I hope that makes sense. All right. In terms of fun facts, this is like mid-tier fun fact. Sometimes people talk about an implementation strategy in the singular, meaning that they're like, our implementation strategy is training, right? Some people, when they say implementation strategy, they mean like a multi-component implementation strategy. So all of their strategies bundled into one strategy. It can get a little bit confusing, but it's just important to clarify when someone's talking about their strategy. Are they talking about one discrete thing, or are they talking about a bundle of things that they're putting together? It really is important in understanding how to test the effectiveness of those strategies. All right, great. Thank you. That was it. I hope this made things strategy-y for you. I regret thinking that would be funny, but I do really appreciate that you're still here with me. For anyone who's still watching, I'm trying to make these shorter and concise while not scripting, so I hope that's coming through. I really appreciate our sponsors, Advance RICTR and the Bridge Program at Brown University. Until the next time, please do everything you can to keep bridging the gap, and I will see you very soon. Thanks.